Welcome, everybody. I'm the your moderator for the next hour, Jose Garcia. We're going to give people a little bit of time to come in, and this is kind of a different approach to thinking about technology services, and I'm not going to go into that in this minute. Of course, because we're going to be talking about it for an hour, but I've got somebody here who is going to. Ruben, are you ready? I'm bringing you on.
Yes.
Ruben, I wonder if you could set the stage. And because I think a lot of people coming to this event, this is a new concept for them. And
Yep.
I wonder if you could say, why are we doing this event? Set the table for us.
Yeah. Thanks, Jose, and thanks for everybody who is listening, who will be listening post webinar. This is an interesting topic because has been so many discussion about AI and information, the data, and all that. But you have to think about it is these data which we talk of and we train and we do all this work is being produced by something. Those are the thing called devices, IoT, Internet of Things. There are so many devices around the world, and there is a projection by 2030 there will be about 32 billion devices and creating so much information coming out of it. And what that means is those information has to be relevant as well as it has to be processed and continuously analyzed. But this information has to be accurate. It has to be informed. It has to be done right. For that, who creates this information is what we are focusing on today. This is called IoT, Internet of Things, the connected devices which come out of this world, which is going to be providing this data. And so it is important to have the data creating machine being available, being active, and being producing meaningful data. So that is where the proactive or reactive kind of what we are going to discuss on these devices, how the health is being analyzed, how the security vulnerabilities are going to be talked about, and then how do you look at when you have these 32 billion devices going around and creating this much of data, how are you going to be able to produce and monitor and continuously fix it, prior to that. So if you look at it, some of the data it come out of this world is when you wait for this data, and if the data is not there, or if you had to go and fix these, the devices, without monitoring post failure, it can have a significant impact on the cost of operations as well as accuracy. Where we are looking at it is if you see these Internet of thing devices, it can be edge solutions, wherever, if you go to a restaurant or McDonald's or anywhere, you have so many devices there, and the point of sale devices. And if you go to agriculture, there are so many. If you go to machineries, you are so many of those are available, and that is where the human touches that, or in the medical environment when they are monitoring all that. So these are all of these situations where these devices are being deployed in a real life sense. So if you don't have that one, so to give you some of these data point on that, if you do some of these proactively versus reactively, you can really improve the performance as well as a business improve their ROI also. Because if, for example, if you wait for something to fail and then you go and fix it, versus if you can proactively go and fix it, it can reduce the cost, reduce the interruption of services, and all of those. So that is where we are coming to play in today. We have a panel who is going to describe what are these problems there, as well as how SENZMATE, collaborating with various entities, have created solutions. So hopefully I set up the stage from, we call it like a 10,000 foot high, where what are the issues in this area and how we are going to be addressing that one in the reality, because this is kind of life and death in one side. On the other side, if you don't have the proper data continuously coming, it's like a garbage in, garbage out situation. So please sit back and listen to our panel. And if you have any questions, come back to us.
Sorry about that. We're going to bring on our next speaker, and thank you so much. I'm going to bring you back on, Ruben, in about 30 minutes.
And I will keep coming back in between to add some, my comment to it. Yeah.
Thank you. I'm going to bring on our next speaker now, Bhupinder. Welcome. And I think some of you may have seen, I did an interview with Bhupinder about 4 weeks ago. I can't remember. And we've been releasing clips.
I know.
And welcome. I really like talking to Bhupinder because he talks to everybody. He talks everyone's language. He talks the customer's language, the tech provider's language, and everything in between. You kind of bridge that gap. And also, I found it really, I learned so much talking to you. And I think you're going to go into this a bit more for us. We're still in the why stage.
We are. No, we are. And I must say, before I really enjoyed talking to you as well, Jose. And I'm sure we're going to have a lot more conversations around this space. And I want to thank Ruben as well for setting the scene. And I think so. Thank you, Ruben, for that. But before I dive into the cost impact, I'm going to share some more figures with you. Ruben threw out some fantastic figures, but I'm going to focus on the medical sector because I think when we talk about IoT, historically, manufacturing has been the sector where IoT device proliferation has been exponential. But let me just start off with the medical sector. In 2025, there were 1 million IoT medical devices that were found exposed online, so the security breach, and they were leaking pretty highly sensitive patient data. And this is not a theoretical risk. This is happening right now. This is, even as we speak, there are IoT devices which are sitting on the internet without any sort of security wrapper, any sort of management. And this is a blind spot which exists not just in the medical space, but in pretty much in everywhere where an IoT device has been deployed. And I want to focus on the medical sector because that is where it is a life and death situation. In manufacturing, a production line can stop. And yes, there is a cost in terms of production loss of productivity, additional costs, which are in terms of freight, et cetera, and lost customer. But with the healthcare piece, so Ruben mentioned a huge number of devices. Now, in the medical sector, in healthcare, there are 540 million connected devices, healthcare devices. And this is growing at an annual rate of 32.5%. So this is now the fastest growth in terms of any industry. And if we think about the number of hospitals, so again, some numbers, I'm going to throw these numbers out. And if people want to come back to me afterwards. So we have by 2029, I believe that the research is showing that there will be 166,548 hospitals, which are globally are going to have at least 10 to 15 connected devices per bed. So we're looking at another 1.6 million devices in total spread around these things. And the thing is, these devices, they aren't just peripheral. I mean, they are mission critical, and especially in the medical sector, we have patient monitoring systems, continuously tracking vitals. We have infusion pumps which are delivering life-sustaining medications. We have ventilators. We have medical imaging systems, MRI, CT, ultrascan, etc. We have lab analyzers and are processing diagnostic tests. So I can kind of go on about exactly what all these different types of devices, and but unlike consumer IoT, so you have meters in your homes, you have smart fridges, etc., etc. These devices, they're not just handling data, and Ruben talked about the different types of data. So they're actually producing data, so they're delivering life critical care. They're monitoring the vital signs of a patient, and they're creating that data. But there is another set of data that has been created as well, which is the health of that device itself. So it's not just delivering delivering care. It's looking at itself and saying, am I doing this correctly? Am I about to fail? And there's thresholds in terms of temperature, in terms of how much medication should be delivered, the blood pressure thresholds, etc., etc. So when an infusion pump fails, as an example, or a patient monitor malfunctions, it's not just an operational disruption as in other industries. Yes, there's going to be cost implications, but this is life-threatening emergencies, and this is where this shift from reactive to proactive is so critical, and this is where we're talking about in terms of the cost. And so just kind of thinking about who is supporting these devices, who is actually looking after the health of these devices. These are being used as assistive technologies. They're delivering critical data that clinicians are making life and death decisions on. But if one of them fails, who is actually detecting that? Now, there is IT and there is IoT and OT. And there is a split between them. IT thinks that IoT is on the edge, and it is on the edge as far as they're concerned. And a lot of time, what happens is that in terms of IoT, we have specialist engineers, specialist support, but they're spending pretty much between 70 and 80% of their time firefighting because it's a reactive mode. And so something has happened, and then they get the information. The system say, oh, that patient monitoring system has malfunctioned. We need to do something about it. They spend about 2 hours doing the triage. They look at the manuals, and then it's a mean time to resolutions. While this is going on, 4 to 8 hours industry average. While this is going on, we have a patient waiting there for the delivery of the necessary healthcare that they need. So in this particular case, we have these support costs which are growing faster than device development or deployment. And there are 3 types of costs. One is the operational cost, people looking after these devices and making sure that when something happens, that they're doing something about it. And then there are the direct costs. So we have a direct operational costs, we have opportunity costs, and we have hidden costs. With the direct costs, what we have is we have the support salaries, we have the emergency repairs, we have the truck rolls, etc., etc. And for a mid to kind of a mid-sized IoT deployment, and this is normally kind of what we think about the hospitals, this averages to around about $1 to $3 million annually. So in a year, that's what it is costing. That's the direct cost. And then there's the opportunity cost, because while you're waiting, while the clinicians are waiting for these devices to come back up again and do what they're supposed to be doing in the right way, they're just there. What are they supposed to be doing? Are they going to go on to the next patient? It's not as easy as that. It's not a conveyor belt. You have to look at the patient in front of you and make sure that everything that is being done. So there is the opportunity cost. There's the kind of the support teams, the clinicians' morale, etc., because you're not doing the right thing for the patient. And then there's the hidden costs. which is when we say, I'm going to say customer satisfaction in this particular case, but it is about, what is the impact to the image of the hospital? What is the reputational damage? And what are the kind of the missed SLAs which are coming into play as well? So this is really, what we're talking about in terms of the costs. And I think, what we need to be talking about here is, how do we take this from reactive to proactive? And what we need to be doing here is making sure that we are monitoring these devices, all of these edge devices, no matter what they are, and we're looking at the trends. And this is where AI comes in. We're talking about AI assisting clinicians in terms of delivering the right care and giving them the right data. Here we're talking about the back end. So this is hidden from most people's views, is we need to take that health data, the device health data, and we need to look at the trends, and we need to say, that device, that MRI machine is going to fail in 7 days' time because of the trend. And then we do something about it. So that is a proactivity piece. And that is where we look at, in terms of then moving from reactive to proactive. It is collecting that data in a secure fashion. It's consolidating, it's curating it, and it's making sure that it's also the right data, and we're doing the right things with it. And what you'll see later on, and we'll talk about, and I think Alan is going to talk about the security side of it, because security is so important in the medical sector. But we're going to be talking about some of the tools and the platforms that especially SENZMATE and the team are building, which allows people to then, the operational teams to move from the reactive mode into that proactive piece. And it is pretty critical. I'm going to stop there because I think I'm kind of running to the edge of my time limit. Jose?
You know what? I want to add something. I'll be very quick. And I didn't mention this to you when we spoke last. Oncologists are, especially the younger ones, are wanting to incorporate wearables data into their treatment. And this is really important because one of the big problems they have right now is consumer wearables don't play well with hospital IT. They're not mature enough, but they need that to happen. The second thing, and that's 4 to 8 million people in the United States, by the way. And if the oncologists do that, that's going to move to pathology, it's going to move to cardiology, it's going to move out to the rest of medicine. So once oncologists do something, it will filter out to the rest of medicine. But the big obstacle right now is the gulf between enterprise IT, healthcare IT, and consumer tech. Right now, there's a chasm between the two. You can't just take your Garmin smartwatch and plug it into a hospital's healthcare EMR system. They won't play. But that may be a subject for future discussion. And I'm sorry, I'm derailing the conversation. But so I think that 32.5% figure is actually probably going to be an underestimation. And then over what we see over the next 5 to 8 years. But I just wanted to throw that out there. Sorry, you go on. You want to say something?
I just wanted to say something around the last time we were talking, you and I, we were talking about the interconnectedness of all these devices. And when you walk into a hospital, there's a sensor which says this is Jose, and it brings up all of your medical records and it knows exactly where you're going. So it does all of that. So communication all the time. And when you walk into the GP, or you actually walk in front of the clinician, everything is there. You got all of your past history. And when you move into the operating theater, they know exactly what to do. So all of these sensors, they are not isolated. And this is the beauty of IoT. When we talk about the Internet of Things, we are pretty much talking about anything which is when I say it, there's a ping, it's sending off a signal, and we can connect to it. We can connect. We can bring it together. We can make sure that it is doing what it's supposed to be doing. And that is the beauty of IoT, and that is the beauty of what SENZMATE is doing with its DevicePulse.AI platform, which is creating a master of masters. It's creating a single pane of glass. And if you think about all of the different manufacturers of those devices in a hospital, it's not just one. Yes, they may well be. If I go to an eye clinic, I will see Nikon, I will see all the big names, but there are so many different manufacturers, and each one of them has their own device management system. and we bring it all together. I think Ruben's got his hand up.
Yeah, I mean, to close it out, what the reactive versus the proactive part of it in medical environment, every second counts, every minute counts, because if you are when you are in the hospital, I mean, I had gone through this kind of situation previously. I've seen this kind of thing. A lot of people are guessing, a lot of people are waiting and all that. And this can completely change the conversation of prioritizing and personalizing the targeting, part of it. With these IoT devices, the information is coming out not like as at the mass, at your personal level, coming to the hospital, coming to the doctors, coming to the devices, where AI can be filtering out some of those anomalies so quickly and prioritize the delivery system also. There are so much opportunities here. Yeah.
Okay, gentlemen, I feel bad because I put us behind schedule now. And I'm going to bring on, we have more speakers. And thank you so much, Rupinder. We're going to bring you back in a few minutes. And Erin and Alan, welcome, gentlemen. And
Hi, Akshay.
I think you're going to talk to us about a proactive intelligence framework, visibility, intelligence, action. And
Yeah,
take it away, gentlemen.
yeah, sure. So, when we are talking about the proactive and predictive investigation, so the conventional, there are these kind of AI models are there for some time. So the conventional systems on this one need some more data, the past data to train, and it takes some time to learn the patterns and identify from the past issues and see, okay, how this pattern goes, and then where it might fail. These systems are there, like at least for some years, last 5 to 10 years, there are conventional ML models are there. Then the recent trend here is the agentic inclusion of agentic approaches in this investigation. So, like a human see the if there is a ML model, it will see only some patterns and then some past data, and based on that, it can only identify the pattern. But a human investigator or a human technician, so they can check the logs, so they can see the sensor data, and they can correlate between different patterns and everything. So when we are moving to agentic from a conventional ML system, so these agents also can have those access. So they will connect to different APIs, they will connect to past data, they can connect to different knowledge bases, and they can correlate this data. So how an actual human investigates? So this can not only monitor and predict, so this can investigate the issue. So like this can see other than a simple correlation or simple graph trends. So it can go to past logs and history and user manual. So by seeing multiple sources and signals, this can take more intelligent decision. So that is the trends or like that. Those are the new explorations we are talking about. So, and by talking about agent, so this can be multiple agents working together. So one can analyze the issue, one can analyze the pattern, and another one can extract the similar issues or similar patterns and root causes from a past database, and then another one can verify and compare whether this situation is similar to what is occurred in the past, and they can verify the situation and take decision. So this will make the decision making more autonomous, and also with the introduction of the recent models in edge side, so there are efficient models which can run in the edge. So we can run part of the investigation in the field itself or near the device itself, and then so this will help the privacy conservation and everything, with Alan will talk more on that side. So these agentic approaches enable a more intelligent system than a conventional AI-based system. By implementing these, we might need to implement them in steps. Like initial thing, it can only predict the issue, and then human can take the decision. And then, as a second stage, it can explore the issue, and also it can suggest the solution, but human can approve. And in the later stages, we can, in a controlled manner, we can introduce an automated solution as well. For example, if this solution is simply like on some cooler or on some or control something automatically, so we can partially approve them, but we have to control the safety, and we have to care about the safety and the boundaries of the system to be before we believe them to do autonomous things. So those are some of the points and some trends like regarding this agentic approach on the root cause analysis and like exploration of these systems in autonomous way. So again, so we are not like replacing the human intelligence here. So we give more assistance on like going through different logs and going through different API data, and so we give more information and connected information to the human so that they can do some more intelligent decision than checking those manually. Yeah, Abhishek.
Ben, do you have anything to add to that?
Okay, well, I wanted to talk a little bit about the if you're worried about your customer experience and you're thinking about how can I make my customer experience better, how can I collect data to help my customer experience be better, those types of things, you should be looking hard at using edge devices to do that, right? Whether it be cameras or surveys or data that you're collecting, these are things that you can do to really help your customer experience. So if you're dealing with an end customer, whether it be in a hospital or manufacturing or be in financial services, and you really want to make your customer experience better, you should be working with SENZMATE to identify those areas where you can use IoT devices to collect and extend data to your employees and also your customers, right, from that standpoint. So that's the first thing I would say. And then on the monitoring and support side that Bhupender talked a little bit about, that is becoming mandatory. So there's a new set of security guidelines that are out there, primarily from Europe, but also in the United States, that talk about the things that need to be monitored and supported and how things need to be done moving forward. So if you're a device manufacturer, if you do supply chain management and a distributor of IoT devices, you're going to have to track and monitor and manage the complete, not only the device itself, the software that's on the device, but also the associated supply chain as that gets delivered to the customer site, right, from that standpoint. So there's a lot of things coming in this year. So the DORA Act, which was implemented by Europe which stands for Digital Operations Resilience Act, and then the associated Cyber Resilience Act that was followed on behind it, was done in 24, and it was implemented in December of 24. Well, coming up in September of this year, it's going to be mandatory for manufacturers, producers, and supply chain distributors to be able to report back to the government, cybersecurity entities, any breaches or any problems that they might encounter with those devices. That's mandatory. And there's some pretty strict requirements for that. Some of it, if it's a severe breach, has to be reported within 24 hours. So if you're kind of dabbling or thinking about getting into the IoT management business, you're in the IoT management business, because the penalty associated with that, if you don't report timely and you're found to have a material breach, can be up to $1 million personally for the executives, and it can also be up to 2.5% of your annual revenue, right, from that standpoint. So you're talking millions of dollars in penalties if this thing gets pushed to the limit, right, from that standpoint. So when you think about it and you talk about, oh, I need to monitor and support these devices, I need to have a single pane of glass, I need to measure my customer experience, it needs to be proactive versus reactive. Those are all things that come with the SENZMATE solution and the set of partners that we've assembled. So we can go in and discover what you have on your network. First of all, to tell you what devices you have on your network and what shape they're in. And then we can also tell you what we would recommend from a moving forward monitoring and support and a lifecycle management of that device. Now, if it's a new device and you're a manufacturer and you need a partner that can put your device in a lab, understand how to monitor and manage it and meet these regulations to do support, you need to also be talking to SENZMATE, because that management and support and that onboarding of those devices is very important. If you're a managed service provider and you say, gee, we don't monitor and we don't manage IoT devices today, you need to. And we can help you with the complete life cycle and the journey of that. And we've partnered with all the major players from an ITSM standpoint, such as ServiceNow, BMC Helix, ConnectWise, and we're building integrations into all those platforms. And if there's a platform that you're using that needs to be integrated, we'll have a discussion with you on how we can make sure that that happens. So it's important that the MSPs and the IT organizations kind of step up and monitor and support the environments and monitor and support the IoT devices, and that we move forward with a complete lifecycle management for all those devices. I would tell you my experience in working with quite a few large customers is that generally on the network right now, we see about 40% of the devices are classified as other, and they're not managed and supported on a daily basis. Now, the other thing that's happening, just one more thing to kind of top it off, is that security certificate management will have to be done for industries such as healthcare, manufacturing, and banking or financial services. You'll have to change your security certificate every 30 to 45 days. Right now, for example, when you buy a printer, you probably get a 10-year certificate. So think about having to touch every printer every 30 to 45 days and upgrade the security certificate and make sure that it's monitored and supported. That's a lot of activity that IT currently doesn't have today. So these are some of the regulations that are coming down. Some of the countries in Europe haven't even written their laws yet, and its reporting is coming into effect in September. And then finally, the full version of it will be in effect in December of 27. So September this year, you got to report. December of next year, it's going to be in full effect with penalties and everything. So from my standpoint, as the CEO of needpipe.com and doing consulting and IT integration for 40 years, there's no better time for you to take a hard look at your IoT devices, right? And talking to SENZMATE about how that can be monitored and supported and how you can integrate it into your ticketing system so you can be sure you're reporting out and managing like you should be based on the new regulations that are coming down. And you're going to see a lot of the ITSM manufacturers stepping up from a discovery standpoint and also from a management standpoint. SENZMATE is ahead of the game, and we plan on staying there. And the proactive maintenance and support in the field is also greatly beneficial to anybody that is doing field maintenance and support. So I would encourage you to take a look at the platform and talk to the players. Also, the final thing that I would mention is that SENZMATE also does application development and support. So if you're saying, gee, I don't even have an application and I need to build one, and I'm an IoT manufacturer, that would be a great thing for you to have a conversation with SENZMATE about. And Jay and the team, Miller, would be glad to have that conversation with you about how they could build a platform for you or integrate it with some of the AI models, as Arun was just mentioning earlier. So thank you for the time, Jose. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. And by the way, before we go to Pinder, you mentioned the Cyber Resilience Act. Now, and then you mentioned individual country legislation. As I understand, the Cyber Resilience Act is EU-wide. So if you comply with that, you're clear for the whole EU.
Yeah, so what's happening is the Cyber Resilience Act is across the EU, and one of the things that they did in the act was they said that each country must specify their laws pertaining to IoT and IoT device management by a certain time period, and most of them are behind, right? And so, because this is something that basically for a long time has been out there, but I think other than people like Bhupender and I and the SENZMATE team, I don't think that we've actually really, even all the standard software manufacturers for ITSM have not stepped up to the plate to manage and monitor IoT devices. So like ServiceNow, BMC Helix, and all those guys, they're trying to play catch up as well. Because it's one of those things where IT was like, hey, we're already too busy, and now we got more things to do. And they're like, well, we just got to keep track of what's going on. So not only are the regulations are changing, and these countries do have the ability to set their own laws, and only about half of them have done that. So it's important to understand that you kind of have to keep up with this subject in order to make sure that you stay covered as things change. And this is only the first round. In the U.S., the standard is ISO 27400. So if you're familiar with the ISO standards, it's ISO 27400 for the ISO standard in the US. That doesn't have as much teeth in it as the CRA, Cyber Resilience Act, does in Europe. Europe's kind of leading the way in cybersecurity for Internet of Things and AI management and other things of that nature. So, and we know things are changing fast, right? So I would encourage you to partner with SENZMATE and use that as a leapfrog to jump in and get going on this. And then, talk to them about the enhancements that you need to have or the things you need to have to run your business. I'm sure they'll be more than happy to talk to you about all those types of projects.
Thank you. Bhupinder, sorry, you've been waiting patiently.
Go, Bhupinder.
Well, and the system, I did say to you, Jose, that we needed to make sure that we needed to put some sort of limits on Alan, but he was talking so fantastically well that I just wanted to pick up on one of your points there, Alan, in terms of discovery, because again, when I'm looking at some of the research, from Gartner, etc., what they're saying is that there are so many companies out there, organizations, nearly 70% of organizations out there do not know how many IoT devices they have actually deployed into the field or that they're using. And I think that's an important thing that we want to focus on as well. We need to know. So as part of this, move from reactive to proactive, we need to go in there. So in terms of life cycle, Jose, what we do is what the normal IoT life cycle is. Someone just kind of puts it into the field and it's registered into the device management system, and they forget about it. Unless, someone comes into a lab after the weekend and all of their samples are pretty much lying on the floor. So, so what you need to know, you need to make sure that organizations, in order to really manage their IoT ecosystem, they need to know what they have. And this is where there is a gap in the market at the moment in terms of tools. They can either detect printers, laptops, servers, etc. And when it comes to IoT, each IoT device has a unique identifier. It's got a certificate ID. It's got an identity, which is very difficult for normal discovery tools to actually pick up. And this is where, again, in terms of Alan was talking about the ecosystem that SENZMATE is building. That is the first step: is to know what you have, and then to know what those devices are doing. Then you can create that priority list. Say this is the priority in terms of how we want to be able to manage these and monitor these. And that is very important. Discover what you have, know what exactly each one of those IoT devices is doing, and then put their criticality against that. And that is going to make sure that we're talking about customer satisfaction. And in medical space, that life-death situation, what are those devices which are absolutely necessary? And people put their hand up is everything. But you can still prioritize and say that is, if that fails, that is it. If that fails, so the impact, you need to get that impact analysis done. And that is where the AI models that Arun and his team have been building are so fundamental to making sure that it's not just humans doing this manually, it's that the system is actually giving them the information that they need to make those right decisions.
That's right. I would also add, Jose, that when you go out there and you do that discovery of your devices that are on your network, you're probably going to discover a lot of devices that don't encrypt their data at rest or in transit. And, that's a big thing if you're a CISO, that's a big thing, right? Of being able to make sure that your data and your communications are encrypted. And because there's a lot of, you'd be surprised how many devices that are brand new devices that are out there that don't do those features of encryption and both at rest and in flight. So these are some of the things that happen. And some of the largest cybersecurity breaches that have happened in the industry have happened from IoT devices, right? From that standpoint. And we have ways to detect and understand that completely, so we can see what's communicating encrypted and what isn't from that standpoint. So we can help you with that, and be glad to come in and do a discovery with you and help you understand what you have on your network. And that's very, very important.
There you go. I actually, just to go what Alan just said, and I believe it might be the biggest casino heist in history. Happened in Asia a couple of years ago. Somebody hacked a thermometer in a fish tank, in the lobby, and there was there was no security between the thermometer and the rest of the casinos. They were able to get to the financial system from the thermometer. But thank you so much, gentlemen. I'm going to have to bring on Miller, who's been waiting patiently.
Definitely. Hi, Jose. It seems like today we have a very interesting conversation. So, thank you for having me, Jose. And I have let me connect all this conversation to our audience for the day. So far, it's been like more than 19 to 20 webinars we have done, and few of them are use case oriented. So, and we have come across plenty of biometric and hardware oriented startups who collaborate in the health tech ecosystem. And recently, FDA also released most of their Titan regulations towards the biometric devices, early 2026. So that basically gives an indication there's nothing going to stop the expansion or booming of hardware involving in the medtech ecosystem. So, but the most important point, as being an IoT company and working on this medtech ecosystem along with biometric, so that's where the first entry. If the data generated through hardware, as Ruben mentioned in the initial points, if that's wrong, the entire thing is wrong. And we want to make sure there is a biometric device for biometric devices. That means it makes sure the health condition of the device is perfectly working, running in the right condition, and the data is precise. And if there is something goes wrong, it get a health report immediately, which is critical as you are monitoring the patient on the bed. Along with it, monitoring the device's conditions, it's equally important because that's where the data is generated. We talk a lot about health AI. AI is booming up in the healthcare sector. We had 19 different webinars on and conversations, hundreds of hours. So the most important thing, the silent assumption underneath all of that intelligence, that the devices producing data, that means biometric or machineries or MRIs, ECGs, glucose devices to pressure devices, and your Fitbits and your Apple Watches, everything, we have an assumption that works perfectly. So it's running based on that assumption and that dependency on that hardware. The greatest risk, it's not in the AI failure, that can be even indicatable, and we still have moderation on top of that. We were discussing for a very long time. Still, the insight generated by AI on the medtech ecosystem, it's not something immediately taken to consideration. There will be a moderation and regulation on the insights, but nobody is giving enough attention towards where the data is generated. The silent device failure is the greatest risk, not the AI failures. So that's where we think we come up with, like, it's supposed to have a mechanism to have a very close monitoring of this, make sure the data which is generated, which is completely dependable, at the same time it's accurate, and getting a much more pre-advanced preventive understanding on the hardware or the data generating component. That's health condition is perfect. So imagine a consideration like a use case where in rural environment, so there are medical equipment. For an example, one of our recent prospect, which we currently working on, it's an Indian company working on biometric devices for gynecologists, especially on the maternal health. So there is not enough scanners and acoustic sensors to understand babies' heart rates in rural environment. There are midwives, there are clinics in Africa, South Asia, and global South. So this particular company have come up with portable hardware where you can attach like a sticker, and you can observe through the mobile dashboard. So you don't need this expensive equipment. So it's pretty much mobile and runs on a condition where in a rural environment. Imagine if that kind of a device ecosystem and your Fitbit or your Apple devices or anything, wearable equipments, which expanded and scattered around the world as distribution channel expanding, and there is no enough maintenance or calibration aspect can be enabled because these are rural environment and extended throughout the world. Let's say 1,000 devices or 10,000 connected units. What happens if something goes wrong? And what happens if the data is not accurate? What happens the battery sensor accuracy and the signal quality is degrading because these are hardware, these are electronics, and nobody noticed that immediately. The data quality drops silently, and AI still produce output based on the wrong information what is generated. So the corrupted input. So that's where clinicians basically lose confidence. It's like a chain reaction because the point of initiation is failed. It's a ripple effect. So that's where DevicePulse, it's a platform that we currently working on, where medical equipments, it could be machinery, it could be biometric devices, will have its own biometric component into it, which will understand the health condition of the device, the accuracy of the data, a condition and degradation of the hardware, and gives a perfect understanding towards the data's dependability. And it gives your troubleshooting aspect immediately and pre-advanced. So you don't miss a point and you are working around in a life and death situation and conditions. So the root cause analysis, if something goes wrong and when it's supposed to be replaced, when it's supposed to go to the maintenance, this understanding and AI guidance towards how to fix it on the ground and making replacements and all those aspects on the troubleshooting side of it. So this is basically, put it in simple words, the entire conversation is all about the importance, and there are regulations. If something goes off in the first point of generation, there's no point of talking about AI on and dependable on biometric devices. So in that aspect, a biometric device or biometric component need to be there for all the biometric devices. So that's where we are focusing on. And so this is an initial point, and there's a series of conversation we have to take it forward, and making this kind of component mandatory. In the experience that we have for the last 7 years, we have come across plenty of issues in the past on the hardware side. So we want to make sure that before talking about AI, the data is accurate and dependable. So that comes with a separate technology aspect. I think that's a huge opportunity for young startups to piggyback on this type of regulation and making sure the data quality enough for medical ecosystem. Thank you.
Thank you, Miller. Ruben.
Yeah, I mean, so this is where I think the SENZMATE and us being like, So I want to go back on SENZMATE history a little bit on this one also. This company has been around more than 10 years, actually close to 12 years now. We started on the devices side of it, understanding from agriculture, understanding from medical, understanding. So the current product which we have is called DevicePulse. It is just articulating what Miller just beautifully explained about it, because you need to have the pulse. Like if you think about human, if how you are alive or not, what is the first thing they do? They check on the pulse. I mean, are you around to do that? And this is simply, as for human life or death, they are here for the device. And what is following that, what again Miller described about, we go through generative AI, we look at all these data and all that. If you are not producing in right data and accurate data and continuously monitoring this information upfront, then you fail everything downstream. And you can spend trillions of dollars. Yes, everything is great. You spend and you did everything right with the AI, but the data was not, correctly produced. So the way we are focused on that one is the rightfully our SENZMATICA platform. If you look at it from SENZMATE, it is I wish we had that the end-to-end framework of it. We will add that one during our repost of this post, because the important part of it is the creation and collection and storing of that data is as important as optimizing the LLMs, optimizing the product, and predicting what the results are going to be. Because without that data being available on timely fashion. And the second part of it, which we have done, is in the real time, we talked about the medical devices, we talked about agriculture and all that, adding that, so what we have added on top of it, the communication channel, the LTEs, all these different, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, all these communication things. So what I'm trying to come about is, a lot of people are working on in a silos of, oh, we are optimizing AI for this one, we are doing this one and that one. What we as a SENZMATE, as the team with Alan, then Bhupinder, and as a wider team, we are putting it together end-to-end solution where people can go and pick, I want this, I want that, or something, or create an end-to-end solution where people can come and say, okay, I have this data or I have this problem. And then we need to take it through all this and use generative AI, which is a great technology going to be, and then use the results. So end of the day, what is the result come out of it is important, but as important is your device continue to produce meaningful data, and that is where the device pulse comes in.
Did I play the video? And
maybe I set it up rightfully there.
And let's do. We've never played a video in a webinar before that we've done together. Share.
Do you really know what's happening with every machine in your printing plant? Right now? In a printing facility like ours, hundreds of devices run at the same time. DevicePulse.AI monitors device health, performance, and connectivity in real time. A centralized dashboard gives full visibility across the production floor. When a new device comes online, DevicePulse.AI automatically discovers it. It blocks the threat, encrypts all data, and protects our production network. All device data is stored securely in the cloud. DevicePulse.AI turns raw machine data into predictive maintenance insights. This helps us reduce downtime, prevent failures, and optimize production. Smarter devices, safer operations. This is DevicePulse.AI.
I hope you all heard that.
Mhm.
Everyone heard it? Okay. By the
Yes.
way, there is up in the chat from Pabodie to everybody SENZMATE has a new website, and it is all our webinar content. You can browse it, you can access it, you can see the whole thing in one place. And I highly recommend that you check it out. And we have a question. Let's see. We have a question in the Q&A. You know what? I saw it and then it disappeared. Where is it?
It is there now. I can read it, Jose.
Yeah, can you read it, please?
Yeah, so it's from Nimal, as our regular participant. Hi, Nimal. All the challenges we are discussing regarding implementing AI in healthcare, would it change it? One of the foundational AI vendors jump into this space like they are trying to do it in SaaS space. But of course, this will increase the competition, or you don't see this happening anytime now. Thank you for this, your time. So basically, the question is, as Nimal pointed out, everybody's trying to monetize AI because they are spending trillions of dollars and all that. So if you look at it from Anthropic, OpenAI, even Google, everybody wants to get into that. What is the difference, in my opinion, is they are building the platforms. I mean, they are building, like, for example, Google Gemini is an amazing LLMs and all that. And so we, as enterprises, we provide solutions. We will use their technology in the back end to do that. Same thing. Anthropic is coming up with solutions, and a different part of it. I was talking about last 2 days. Cloud came and released it and all that. All great, all the thing. But end of the day, somebody has to be what Bhupinder talked about, what Alan talked about, these regulations, all of these things. Someone has to customize. Someone has to be there to build this solution to that level where the operators who are, for example, a medical professional or factory workers, they don't need to know AI. They don't need to do that. So that is where the opportunity for us. So it is not, in our opinion, zero-sum game. We need those deep tech, deep analysis. What we will be is, we will take those solutions. I mean, we've been always like that. We have been optimizing Llama from Meta, Facebook for so many years. And Arun and his team has done amazing job on optimizing, put those in a handheld device at the edge, at point of sale locations and all that. Because yes, you can say, oh, Meta is doing it. I mean, you are not going to win, but you need people like us to build that end solution targeted, which is sometimes cost effective, sometimes is secure, sometimes is protected, all of those. So to me, it's going to be a great evolution. This is like going back to machine. When industrial revolution came, machine came, people said, oh my God, they are going to take over. No, still there are jobs.
Thank you, gentlemen. Well, evolution never ends, but the webinar does. And I'm wondering if we can go around. Oh, Miller, I wonder if you can give us your final word.
Sure, I will give my final word along with just a continuation to the answer. So I'm in Delhi right now with the AI Summit extension, which currently happening right now here. So the main focus of India on this context is the important take what Nimal asked. So there are private companies, they are focusing towards making monetization on health tech or whatever the AI tech they involve. But governments and countries and public sector, they can make some amazing initiatives around it. So the data dependency and regulation is more state oriented, and they are the people who decide how the data will be shared internally towards any platform outside and so on. So they are creating this a complete stack of a Bharat Gen, so they call it. So the Bharat Gen ecosystem, which is localizing in all the languages, where people, as Rubana said, you don't need to know how AI works. It works. You have to make it a localized mechanism, how a common man can access it and how they access it in what price. So for a state and public, if it's end of the day as a ripple effect, they don't want to pay for OpenAI in long term if there is an internal platform which has all your data. So in that sense, the government reduced taxes on one end, or the which is paying outside in one end, and it makes an internal integration. So that's some initiatives all the countries need to make. So countries like India has the infrastructure and the capacity to do that, and it's an amazing study to every country to go through. How the public sector can get involved in AI and making it affordable for the citizens of the country on public services.
Alan, final word.
So everything that Miller said, I think that as we move towards more agentic AI agents, you're going to be plagued. You think you have software as a service now in the cloud. You're going to have agentic agent deployment in the cloud. You're going to go to thousands of agentic AI agents that are built for very specific tasks, that type of thing. We have a bunch of tools right now that we have that are using swarms of agentic AI agents to bring data back quickly into a central location. So there's all kinds of things that are going to happen in the industry. So hang on, because it's going to change really fast. And I know the folks at SENZMATE are up to the task of corralling all that in and, being able to manage it, support it, and put it on a dashboard so you can see what's happening. That's an important part.
Aaron, final word.
Yeah. So as we previously discussed, so this situation is changing, like from a static application, static models to a dynamic, more agentic part. So we need to prepare for that, the faster change to be relevant and to get the most beneficial benefits from this agentic revolution.
Thank you. Bhupinder,
Yes.
final word, and the event.
And the event indeed. I was going to say, I mean, there is so much technology out there. There's so many IoT devices being deployed, and what we need. So what we do is we're building technology to actually manage that technology. But in order for that technology to work, we need people like Arun who can build the solutions in order to make that all work. And I think I want to take my hat off to Arun and his team, and to Miller and his teams as well, because I mean they're doing amazing stuff. But it is not simply IT works or IoT works. It's because there is a whole ecosystem behind the scenes, which is making sure that all of these things are connected and working and they're pulling in the same direction.
Ruben, we started with you.
Yeah, I think the conversation today has been very, very rewarding for me in that sense. One side, we talked about the problem and all that, and we didn't leave it at that, where Bhupinder and Arun and the SENZMATE team has built this DevicePulse solution, which able to get you off the ground. Again, this is first or second innings, if you look at the baseball, or if you look at the cricket World Cup and all that, maybe first 5 overs or 10 overs game, it has so much to build out of in the back end side of it, but you had to build the foundation right. The foundation for everything is the data, quality of data, continuous data, all of those kind of part of it. So what I see is, we didn't stay in the middle where optimize the LLMs and keep grabbing data. We moved up to the sense and we build this solution, and which can be customized, put it around this device generation, proactive maintenance, all of those. That way you get improve the quality. So I leave it at everybody is to think that way. Are you getting your data right, as well as are you making sure you are maintaining those quality of those devices upfront? If not, give us a call. I think this is the time for us to think about it and looking at it and create that environment, which is, to be honest, it is, at the beginning it was tough. Now I think we have got it to a science, so we can help you. So please reach out to Alan, Bhupinder, or the SENZMATE team, and we can just jump in on a call and get to that, because I think we are here to help. We want you to monetize system, as well as bring efficiency to the end users. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great. Thank you so much. to everybody on the panel, and to the audience as well. Have a great day. And we're going to be
Thank
having
you.
more conversations about this in the future. Stay tuned.
Definitely. Thank you.